Resuming debate, the honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's a real pleasure to get up and rise today to deliver my first speech in the House of Commons. I was reflecting as earlier debate was going on. Thank you to my colleagues. It's just such an incredible honor to be here in this place on behalf of the great people of Brandon and Westman. And we know we don't get here alone, and so I would be remiss if I didn't start by thanking, of course, my partner Ashley, who has agreed to come along on this wild political journey. She's been a trooper in making the leap into federal politics with me, and so I thank her from the bottom of my heart. My parents, Daryl and Sherilyn, as an only child, I'm sure it's a bit of a strange phenomenon to see your only child carted off to Ottawa to represent the rural areas in southwestern Manitoba, but they've been supportive of me through this political journey, and so I thank them as well for being there through thick and thin. I haven't always made it easy. I'm sure they would reaffirm that, but they have been there with me through it all, so I thank them for that, as well as my in-laws as well, who have allowed a political junkie into their family with open arms, and I thank them for their support. And we also get here with a team, and so I'd be remiss if I also didn't thank my campaign team. They came together very quickly after my predecessor announced a sudden departure from politics, and we garnered very good results. There's no doubt about that. We broadened our voter coalition. We increased the number of Conservative votes that were received in our constituency, and so I thank them for their hard work in very quick fashion to get organized and get up and running. And I also must thank my predecessor, Larry Maguire. He was a stand-up individual. He was a great advocate for rural Manitoba, for all of Manitoba, and for Western Canadian agriculture over many years in politics. And he's been a great friend and mentor to me personally. And so I thank him for his friendship and mentorship, and I wish him well in his retirement, although I'm sure we have not seen the last of him in terms of his involvement in politics across Manitoba and across the country. I want to thank our Conservative Party and my Conservative colleagues and our leader, Pierre Poilievre, for their support of me and their faith in me in stepping into Larry's shoes and fulfilling the responsibilities of this role. I do not take that faith lightly, and I plan to work hard on behalf of this team every day. But most importantly, I want to thank the people of Brandon Souris. It is such a humbling experience to be the Member of Parliament, to be your voice here in Ottawa. I am so privileged to be that voice, and I'm going to work hard every day to ensure that your issues, your challenges, your experiences are raised here in the House of Commons. And when I think about Brandon Souris, or Westman, it's certainly the first word that comes to mind is home. But like any home, sometimes the house needs a little bit of work. And that is certainly what we heard at the doors during this campaign. We heard that our Westman industries are struggling. Our young families are having a hard time paying the bills and buying affordable homes. Crime is up, both in our urban cities and on farmyards. This is not an acceptable state of affairs, and unfortunately, it gets worse. With Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola and our oil and gas sector being suppressed by failed Liberal government policies, people are left feeling like there is less hope than there has been in many, many years. So, why are we here? Well, the Liberal government seems focused, or has been focused anyway, on offshore challenges. They're funding farming initiatives in Africa, but there's no support for Canadian agriculture. They're investing in the Asian Infrastructure Bank, building pipelines in Asia, but there has been zero major infrastructure nation-building projects conducted here on Canadian soil in the last 9.5 years of their government. That is a shame, Madam Speaker, and Westman residents have had enough. They made it clear with a decisive mandate vote for change in Ottawa. And as part of this larger vote coalition were young people, people who have never voted Conservative or never voted at all, who voted Conservative for the first time, and they voted in favor of a Conservative plan that offers a very proud and important path forward for this country. Young people in Canada want very simple things: to be treated with respect, to be able to get a good job that earns them a good wage, that allows them to buy an affordable home and start a family in a safe neighborhood. These are not complicated requests. And yet, if anything that the Liberal government of the last 9.5 years has shown us is that the Liberal Party's secret party trick is to be able to complicate even the simplest of government tasks. And we need look no further than the Phoenix pay system debacle, where they couldn't even figure out how to pay their own civil servants, or the Arrive scam issue that complicated crossing the border with a Canadian passport as a Canadian citizen. Difficult. And this are just some of the smallest examples, not even getting into infrastructure, procurement, and the other debacles of the last 9.5 years. So young people in this country voted for a common sense plan, but even more than that, they voted for a plan full of hope. More young people in Canada under 40 voted Conservative than ever before because our plan inspired them with a path forward to a more hopeful future for this country. And that's a credit to Pierre Poilievre and our leadership team, who have made this Conservative Party younger and with a broader vote coalition. That bodes very well for the future of the Conservative Party of Canada. It's a plan to make life more affordable by reducing taxes, reducing government spending, cutting waste, building safer communities with targeted investments in nation-building projects like national energy corridors and pipelines, a jail not bail plan that puts criminals behind bars and ensures that they remain behind bars to serve time for the crimes that they commit that destroy our communities and destroy our families. This is the Conservative plan that young people across the country supported and will support again. And so to those people who bought into this vision, this path, and this campaign of hope, I say this: don't lose that hope now. We didn't get across the finish line, but this team around me is fighting for you. Day in and day out, we are working to implement that agenda from the opposition benches, and we will get some results. Look no further than last night, when the Liberals lost their first vote on their own throne speech, when we amended it to include the adamant statement that there be a financial update this spring before the House rises to ensure that there is a fiscal plan to support these challenges that are impacting you and your families. I know that things aren't good right now, but they can be better. We know they can be. And with a lot of hard work, patience, persistence, and determination, we can make them better. We can do big things in this country. We can make positive change so that those who come after us have a better country and more opportunity than we had when we were growing up. And friends, without a doubt, this Conservative team, under the leadership of Pierre Poilievre, is the team to get that done. I'm ready to get to work, so let's get to it.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, it's actually very interesting. We just came through a national election where it was made very clear the Liberal government received 8.5 million votes plus. That's the largest number of votes ever before in a national election. I believe they came to that conclusion because they were able to compare Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative agenda in contrast to the Prime Minister and the Liberal Party's platform. And they made a judgment on that issue. And the hope is there because of the campaign making it very clear that we need to start working with the premiers, Indigenous leaders, the territories, political parties, to build a strong Team Canada so that we can actually deliver on the issues such as Trump tariffs and trade. Does he feel any obligation whatsoever to work with the government on important projects?
The honourable member for Brandon Surrey.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague from Winnipeg North for the question. We will certainly support the government if they actually provide a plan to build national energy projects in this country, including oil and gas pipelines. We've seen nothing from the opposition, from the government members about that, Madam Speaker, and we look forward to seeing that plan coming forward. And if it will, then we'll consider it at that time. But the member is certainly wrong. There were more conservative votes in my constituency this time than in many years past. People supported the Conservative Party platform in my constituency. They voted for change in Ottawa, and we're going to work hard every day to make that change happen.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Jonquière. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I find my colleague's response very interesting. He probably saw, like I did, the government's desire to table a bill to define projects that would be nation-building, and these projects may not have to be subject to environmental assessments. Does my colleague agree with this? Does he think that for gas and oil pipelines projects that we should have to do environmental impact assessments? Is that the Conservative Party's position?
For Brandon Surrey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks to my colleague for the question. Certainly not. Our position is that the bureaucracy has become so bloated that you can't get anything built in this country in a timely fashion. It is taking years upon years upon years to get these permits approved and get construction actually happening. So while we believe that environment is very important, protecting our environment and our natural spaces is very important, we also need to get permitting timelines down to a modicum of a reasonable time frame so that companies and investors have the assurance that these projects are actually going to get done sometime in our lifetime. That is the Conservative Party's platform, is to reduce the amount of time it takes to get these permits done and actually get this country built for a change.
Questions et commentaires? Questions? Comments? The honourable member. I'm sorry. The honourable member for Brampton, no. Scarborough. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the honourable member for his speech and would like to congratulate him on his election. So during the debate on the throne speech, we have heard from our friends on the other side that our middle class tax cut isn't big enough, but as you know, I'm sure the member knows they ran on a tax cut that won't have helped everyone for 3 years. So would the honourable member agree that money in the pocket of the Canadians next month is better than a tax cut which would not help them for the next 3 years?
For Brandon Surrey.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the kind opening comments from my colleague. I want to make it clear, though, that our Conservative Party, while supporting tax cuts, does believe that the proposal from the Prime Minister's government does not go far enough. We think Canadians deserve more relief from the massive increases in higher taxes that they've received after the last 9.5 years of the Liberal government. They need to go further. That's why we're calling for a spring budget to deliver more relief for Manitobans, Westman residents, and Canadian families who are struggling to put food on the table.